Hi, well, welcome everyone. So glad you could be with us today. My name is Michelle Belasker. I'm the coordinator for the Midwest Invasive Plant Network, and we're going to be hearing today from Katie Church from the Invasive Species Centre on managing European water chestnut. They've had a lot of success in the Welland River, and we're going to hear about that project. Before I formally introduce Katie, I always just like to give a little introduction to the Midwest Invasive Plant Network. If my slides will advance, there we go. But before I do that, I also want to thank and acknowledge our sponsor. The Invasive Species Center has generously become a 2024 MIPN sponsor, and so they are the sponsor for today's webinar. And the center is a not-for-profit organization. They connect stakeholders, knowledge, and technology to prevent the spread of invasive species that harm the environment, the economy, and society. The center is also a hub for collaboration and knowledge sharing. They are a respected partner and a real leader in invasive species science, education, and action. I highly recommend you visit their website, which is at the bottom of the screen here. There's a lot of really valuable resources that I think you'll really appreciate. Our network, the Midwest Invasive Plant Network, we cover the area that you see on this map here, so 9 states as well as the province of Ontario. And our mission is to reduce the impacts of invasive plants in the Midwest. And we achieve our mission in a lot of different ways. This is just a few resources that we have available. We have a Midwest invasive plant list, which is a list of about 450 invasive plants. Which states and provinces they're listed in, how they're regulated in those different areas. If you're interested in woody invasives in particular, I highly recommend visiting the Woody Invasives of the Great Lakes Collaborative website, which is woodyinvasives.org. That really goes into a lot of detail on 28 high priority woody invasives in our region. If you're involved in management, the Invasive Species Control Database is another great resource. You can do a customizable search for management techniques, both manual and chemical. Again, you can kind of customize your search based on time of year and, of course, the plant and the effectiveness, all kinds of different parameters. And then if you need assistance, we have a SISMA directory or a CWMA directory. So if you're looking for an invasive species management area person in your area, you can find them there. And if you work for a SISMA, we also have resources for you. You can access all of these at our website, mipn.org. And that's going to be the extent of my spiel today. But if you are enjoying MIPN webinars, we did 10 last year. This is our second one of 2024. We hope you'll consider making even a small donation today to help support our education and outreach efforts. And I'll put a direct link for that in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out to me. You can go to mipn.org for my contact information, or I'll try to remember to pop it in the chat for you. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and let Katie get her slides up. We're really pleased to have Katie Church with us today. She has been the field team lead on the Welland River since 2022 and has led 2 successful seasons of plant removal and outreach event coordination. She has a really good understanding of ecology and invasive plants, as well as experience as a project leader and in establishing relationships with local partners. She has a graduate certificate in ecosystem restoration from Niagara College and a conservation and management environmental technical degree from Sioux College. So thank you for being here, Katie. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to share this story that the Invasive Species Center has been working on the Welland River on managing European water chestnut. And yeah, I'll just get started here. So first off, I'd just like to read our land acknowledgement. The Invasive Species Center honors the long history of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Nation peoples on the lands now known as Canada and strives to show respect to their ancestors, their communities, and to them individually. We greatly appreciate the significance of the lands, waters, and all living things and offer our gratitude to the Indigenous people for their care for and teachings about our earth. Our relationship with Indigenous communities are important, and we will continue to listen and learn how we can be in a good relationship with Indigenous peoples, the lands and waters, and all living things, and act accordingly. The Invasive Species Center respectfully acknowledges that our head office is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg, the Batchewana, and the Garden River First Nations, as well as the long-term settlement of the Métis people in the Robertson-Huron Treaty. And just a little bit about the Invasive Species Center. So the Invasive Species Center is a not-for-profit organization that mobilizes action against invasive species that harm the environment, the economy, and the society. And we are actually located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So just a quick note on that. And then I'll move on to what I will be presenting today. So I'm going to introduce the plant and talk about its context within Ontario. And then go into the rapid response program that the Invasive Species Center has been working on in Welland, and kind of take you from the beginning of the rapid response to where we are now and what's next. I'll throw in the results as well, and always welcome for questions at the end of the presentation. So European water chestnut, which I'm going to try to call it EWC from now on, just because it's a mouthful. It's a annual aquatic plant that can grow up to 2 meters long. It has floating green leaves with sharply toothed edges that have these spongy swollen pockets underneath that help the plant float. And it's just, if you can see my cursor here, these are the little spongy swollen pockets here that let these plants float. Each plant can produce up to 10 to 15 rosettes that produce a white flower. And what you're seeing here in these 4 photos are these are all rosettes. You can imagine, each plant can grow, up to 10 to 15 of these. It's quite a lot. And then each of these rosettes can produce up to 15 to 20 single green fleshy seeds that are attached until the mid to late growing seasons, where the seed will turn to a darker brownish, detach, and go into the substrate. And these are these green fleshy seeds that we're talking about. This is like almost about to fall off. It just needs to turn a little bit of a more darker color. And then they would probably be ready to fall off there. And then the seeds will turn woody with sharp barbed edges and can be viable up to 12 years. So this is the seed you're looking at here, and these edges here, they're actually barbed. So it's a really hard woody seed that wouldn't, it's difficult to hold on to, and it would be painful to step on. So just something to keep in mind. The plant actually thrives in lakes, rivers, and streams that are slow moving and have a soft substrate. And it's native to Europe and was introduced in North America as an ornamental plant for water gardens. So in terms of it being an invasive, an aquatic invasive plant for Ontario, it definitely checks all these boxes. Invasive species are plants, animals, insects, and pathogens that are introduced to an area and can cause harm to the environment, economy, or society. And EWC is no exception to that. If left unchecked, it can cause economic impacts such as decreased property values, impact commercial fishing in infested areas, social impacts, preventing boating and swimming, especially in an area as we see here. The seeds are really sharp, and I wouldn't want to swim through this mat, let alone, try to get my boat through there. And then the woody seeds can also wash up on, the sandy shorelines and definitely be a safety risk, as those are very sharp and, not something that you would want to step on. Can go right through a flip-flop. And then ecological impacts, this mat especially, it forms dense mats, decreases aquatic plant diversity and shades out native species. It can reduce light penetration and plant growth beneath these mats. And the hardy plant decomposition can lead to a decrease in oxygen levels, and this can impact fish and finally, species at risk habitat for sure. So it is a prohibited species in Ontario, under the Invasive Species Act, making it illegal to, import, possess, release, transport, and lease or trade. This also means that any boaters in infested waters must avoid spreading the plants, clean, drain, dry, removing plants from their boat, motor, or trailer, and then making sure to dispose the plants when they do clean, drain, dry, so they don't end up back into the water. So where did this plant come from, and some of the pathways here? So it was actually introduced in 1879 by a Cambridge a gardener at the Cambridge Botanical Gardens, and spread through northeastern states and into Quebec, and then finally into Ontario here. Um, and millions have been spent to fight back this plant in New England. And current management and control is being done in Voyageur Provincial Park and Wolfe Island near Kingston, kind of this area here and up to here. And most recently, work is now being done in Welland, which is all the way on this side here. And in terms of the pathways of spread, the seed generally falls directly beneath the parent plant. But that being said, these rosettes can break off and they float. So they can float downstream and be able to establish in other parts of the river. And then also there have been studies where the seeds can get caught on waterfowl feathers, and they can spread to different water bodies as well. So, this work is being done because, the economic impact of invasive species can be enormous, with estimates as high as 3.6 billion per year on agriculture alone. So the invasion curve shows us that the stages of invasion and the ratios of economic returns, and tell us that the prevention programs are most cost effective. That upfront money spent is most cost effective, before leading into, the long-term control. As the species establish, populations will increase, and the cost of control increases, as do the economic damages. Eventually the invasion will shift to being managing the populations and protecting the remaining ecological resources from further damages. And with Welland, we were right at species arrival. This graph is a great example of being that the prevention moving towards the eradication phase is where we were at. And then just in terms of context as to where the Welland River is, if you're looking at this map here, the Welland River is in the middle here in the Niagara region of Ontario, and Lake Ontario is kind of north here, and Lake Erie is south. So the Welland River runs through towards the Niagara River. It empties into a dam, a hydro dam, and then also empties into the Niagara River. And it flows through these two canals here, if you can see. So this is the Welland Canal here. And this is the main canal that the ships go back and forth through. And then we have the old Welland Canal, which is now used it's closed off, and it's used as a recreational waterway for the city of Welland. And the Welland River actually runs through a series of aqueducts. So it takes the water from one side, pushes it under, and it comes back out to the other side. So that's why we have this little section of Welland River here between the two canals. And just so you guys know that this orange here is the extent of monitoring efforts that we've been able to do, being 53 kilometers, which is a pretty a long way, considering these bends and everything they're very time consuming to canoe and boat through. So a long stretch, and we were able to get out to as far as the Niagara River. So just a note on the monitoring efforts we've made. So the rapid response program. So now that I've taken you through the the background on what Chestnut is and where it is, I'm going to take you into the actual program that the Invasive Species Center has built and take you through what started it. And this is just a nice little picture of the Welland River that I like. You can see that there is chestnut scattered throughout, but you know, it's a really nice view, and there's the heron there too, just to make it a little nicer there. So EWC populations continue to pop up in Eastern Ontario. You know, most notable, as I said before, in Voyageur Provincial Park and Wolfe Island in Kingston there. And there was a report made in 2020. And because of its unique shape of and shade of this plant, you know, it doesn't really look like any other native aquatic vegetation that's here. It was quickly confirmed. So it was made through EDMAPS. It was quickly confirmed. And then, so that was in 2020. And then in 2021, the Invasive Species Center decided to take action and survey the river to view the extent of the infestation. It was actually determined that the infestation could likely be eradicated or controlled by a rapid response in the Niagara region. And the method that was chosen for control was actually manual removing. So this is all done using manual removal methods by hand pulling. So as a result of the EDMAPS report and the initial survey done by the Invasive Species Center, the ISC and the local conservation authority, which would be the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, created an eradication program with support from Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, Ducks Unlimited, and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. And it was called the European Water Chestnut Rapid Response Program. And, you know, local collaboration was the key to building this program. And the NPCA provided the team with a storage facility and a home base for the team. And they also provided us with river access and were the main local contacts. And then provided us with, you know, community outreach and advertising the program. The OFAH provided us with the hit squad team. These are a team of invasive species technicians, and they were actually local to the Welland area. And Ducks Unlimited provided us with expertise and control as they do this work in Eastern Ontario. And they also did some drone mapping for us, which was awesome. So visual surveys for this, visual and manual removal occurs in July and August. And it's important to note that, you know, this program wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these partners that helped us build and maintain the program. So definitely something to keep in mind. You know, the collaboration was key for this. And in order for us to even start building a program, we had to abide by the prevention response plan provided by the MNRF, which just detailed authorized personnel who can provide control efforts, you know, the activities when doing control, and removing and transporting, you know, clean, drain, dry equipment protocols. And this document was used in every aspect of building the program, and also collaborating with the NPCA on, you know, biomass disposal. And you know, it was used in training as well as like these activities were done in our day-to-day work. So a really important document that helped us, that guided us through this. We also decided to apply for a species at risk permit specifically for mussels, as there are species at risk mussels in the Welland River. And this just dictates the activities that we need to take when removing chestnut. You know, monitoring for mussels every time we're removing EWC, identifying and confirming the species of mussels, which was a really fun task that we took on to learn how to identify these mussels and photograph all the encounters. Excluding zebra mussels, there was a lot of zebra mussel encounters we made. So just to make note of that, but you know, we didn't have to take a picture of every single zebra mussel. We had to provide locations, and all this was provided uh, into a final seasonal field report. And, it is important to note, like I said, the encounters happen pretty much daily, most of them being zebra mussels, which you can see here is attached to a EWC stem. So this is kind of what we were working with here. So how did we do this work? Well, hand pulling is the preferred technique. Like I said, the manual removal. Um, it's where we delicately pull the EWC out of the substrate, ensuring no snapping of the plant. Um, if there was snapping, there would be regrowth in the same season. So the goal here is to pull the whole plant out of the substrate before the seeds drop, and making sure you pull, again, the whole thing out. And we decided to use 2 canoes and a small motorboat to help us move biomass, and provided us, with a quick emergency exits if needed. Hand pulling from a canoe requires a lot of stability and being comfortable in a canoe. So, by the end of this season, we were all pretty much capable of, canoeing long distances and, being stable. And then these pictures also show kind of the color of the water we were working with, which isn't very forgiving if an EWC plant would snap. Like I said, if it would snap, it would cause regrowth. So if snapping did occur when we were pulling, we would drop a pin and visit the area back throughout the season to ensure to pull any regrowth that was made. Just a quick note on biomass disposal. We transported them in closed Rubbermaid bins, and they were all transported to our home base here at Chippewa Creek Conservation Area. They have a green waste pile, so the MPCA, that was another thing they allowed us to dispose of all the plants there. And then the local community outreach, recreational paddlers were the focus of the outreach. And as the original report came in from a recreational paddler, so we created a Paddle with a Purpose, which is a paddling tour in the Welland River, in an area where EWC was infested. So the public was able to bring their canoes and kayaks, and they were taught how to identify and report EWC to EDMAPs, to hopefully report it if they see it in any other waterways or tributaries that they were paddling through. And also they had a chance to pull chestnut, which I feel like is always fun for community outreach activities. They love, doing the dirty work, and, pulling the chestnut was really fun for them. And then throughout the field season, we also continued to outreach through a waterfront landowner letter. So the landowners knew what we were doing. They would see us every day waving at us along the Welland River, just so they knew what we were doing. It also gave them an opportunity to reach out and support the program. Some people came back and they said we could use their docks if we needed a break from, sitting in a canoe for the whole day, or stretch our legs. And there was some people who reached out if we wanted to kind of dispose of the plant in a spot and come back for it later if there was enough biomass to do that. And then in case of emergencies, we had some landowners reach out for emergency exits if we needed it. The paddling tours actually provided a chance for the local newspapers to come and learn about the program and speak to the local paddlers about this program. And then, regular updates on our social media websites throughout the summer as well. Another way we got this programs out there was we decided to post 3 signs at 3 different boat launches along the Welland River with information on identifying the plant. So, you have the picture of the plant, you have where the hotline or the EDMAP's website, and then you also have, some clean, drain, dry messaging on there. And these boat launches were frequently used by the field team. So we had a lot of people stop us and ask us what we were doing. And it was a great opportunity also for outreach, just to inform them what we were doing on that river, and to point to the sign as well. And if we didn't have the plant with us, there's a photo of it right there as well. With all of that, we did have strong community outreach and support. The landowner letter was sent out early in the season, and we tracked community support by this Field Maps app, which was very helpful when we were on the river. So we knew where we needed to go if there was if we needed an emergency exit, or the boat launches that we had, and the temporary biomass disposal. We actually had 6 landowners reach out the first year, and an additional 3 landowners the second year. So overall, some really good community engagement, with the paddling tours. The landowners also came out to the paddling tours, and they wanted to see the plant and what we were doing. So again, a lot of community support from the Welland area, the Welland River area, rather. Okay, and the results of all this work we did. So just a quick note on the area monitored. We actually were able to extend monitoring from 33 kilometers in 2021 to 2022 to 53 kilometers in 2023, represented by the purple and the orange here. We did not see the year in 2023, we did not see chestnut moving any further than the original response that we made. So that was awesome, because we knew that the plants weren't moving more downstream. They stayed in that 33-kilometer stretch, and we were able to get on it right away, which was awesome. And then just some results on the plants that we removed. So in 2022, the team removed over 7,000 plants from the river. And what you see here are the levels of infestations we recorded throughout the 33-kilometer stretch. We removed the plants using Rubbermaid containers, which contained an average of 100 plants each. And we had a total of 70 bins removed at the end of the pulling season. The levels are represented by the yellow being sections with no EWC, the orange being sections with of the river with 0 to 400 plants, and then the red being really high infested areas from 401 to 800 plants. In these red areas, especially these smaller areas, it's a race to pull everything. So having all hands on deck in these areas was a must, and that motorboat really helped us move biomass back to our initial disposal site. So very helpful for that. And then just a picture of what you would see if you were looking at a red polygon versus an orange polygon. This one is a little bit blurry, but you can still see the outline of the chestnut. Very dense, mixed in with native aquatic vegetation. You can see some of the chestnut leaves are poking out, pushing. They're about to form a mat, basically. And then the orange polygon, more sporadic throughout the river, and not so much pushing up against each other, and like I said, spread out, but definitely still there. So just some compared results from the 2022 and 2023. And the purple is a heat map on top of the polygons from 2022. With a smaller amount of EWC on the river, we decided to drop pins from each chestnut being pulled out of the river. There was a huge reduction on the river as we pulled around 1,000 plants in 2023. The red polygon from 2022 represents a range of 401 plants to 800 plants, and that's this one I'm talking about here. In one area alone, in 2023, the heat map represents 169 plants that we removed. So a very large reduction, even visually seeing it, a very large reduction from the river. And it's awesome to see the change in just 1 year of pulling. That rapid response created such a rapid change. So definitely a reduction in what we were seeing in 2023. And just a note on some other invasive species that we observed and reported. We were on the river every day, so we made it a point to be vigilant on other things that we saw. And these are just a couple, these were reported and observed and reported. And then we also had a chance, just to pull whatever we saw of the water lettuce and the water hyacinth. They were very small populations. So, just pulled it the same way we would pull the chestnut. So, what's next for EWC Rapid Response in Welland? Well, due to the rapid response efforts, we have seen a successful reduction in EWC from one year to another. And with that comes the challenge of unpredictability of the population size year to year. But there will still be EWC on the river, and we will still continue to push it to eradication. There's always that constant push and pull between the effort needed to remove all the plants and the natural reduction work linked to a successful eradication program. So we will still continue to remove the annual growth of EWC on the Welland River in 2024, ensuring we pull all of those plants before the seeds drop. And continue surveying and monitoring the extent of the infestation and continuing monitoring surrounding water bodies. And also we plan to increase community involvement through more outreach activities and paddling events. So, what worked and what made this program successful? It showed that the citizen science aspect of it worked. The one report sparked the rapid response, and it was from a citizen science, a local paddler. And the fact that there was such a rapid response to the original EDMAPS report, it like I said, it sparked building the program. Collaboration was key to building and maintaining this program. With our local partners, especially, just continuing to keep them in the loop, supporting them when they needed, engaging them in communications and outreach activities, continuing the outreach with the local community, landowners, local paddlers, and paddling groups, getting the public involved and engaged, and going to those outdoor festivals in the area and talking to the public about, cleaning during dry and then aquatic invasives and also the program that we run, and just continuing the conversation to our local partners about the focus on short-term management, and then continuing the conversation about long-term management and maintenance. So again, thanks to our local partners, this program wouldn't have been able to happen if it weren't for the help that they have provided and the resources they have provided. And then just to end off here, I have just a couple photos of the season and what a typical day would look like with the chestnuts, and some of the nature that we saw on the river and the paddling tours. So that is it for me.
Okay, thank you so much, Katie. This was great. We do have one question so far. If anyone else has a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We'll stay on for a few minutes. So it says, can you talk more about the seed bank? Do you think there are still a lot of seeds present? Are there any plans to sample for seeds, and any idea how long they might be viable?
So the seeds are viable for up to 12 years. So we don't know how or when, we don't know when the seeds have established in the Welland River. But like I said, continuing that conversation on like the continued monitoring of the plant and maintenance, it might be the seeds will still definitely be there next year, but it's just dependent on, year to year what we do. And removing all those seeds before the plant drops the seeds is what is important with that. Making sure that none of the new growth drops the seeds is key.
That makes sense. I'm curious to know if, oh, let's see, we have another question. Wondering if volunteers who participated had significant background knowledge on the plant and its impacts, or if this information was new.
It was definitely new to a lot of the volunteers. We reached out to our local paddling group, the Peninsula Paddlers, and they actually paddle, all the rivers in the Niagara area. I've actually had some people come back and say, "Oh, I've seen this in the Welland River before. I didn't know what it was." So it was cool to see that they actually came out and learned about it. And just it's important to have that outreach aspect to the paddlers because they're the ones with the eyes on the water, especially when you go into other tributaries and you're looking for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any, what do you think about your monitoring range for the future? It sounds like it's going to be a similar, you're going to do that full 53 kilometers this year. And then I don't know if you're thinking about scaling back at some point.
Well, this year we plan to do the full 53 kilometers and continue it into other tributaries connected to the Welland River. So it will definitely be extended, but we can't go any further than the Niagara River. So it will extend it the other way and continue to look at the other tributaries.
Okay. Any idea about the source? Do you know if this is a single introduction or if it's an ongoing issue?
As far as I could tell, and the reduction that we did have, I feel like it was a single introduction. The seeds could definitely the rosettes can definitely break off and float down river and establish somewhere else in the river. So the introduction to the Welland River, I'm not quite sure, but like I said, pathways could have attached to a waterfowl feather and ended up there, and it grows so fast. Like the one rosette, which the plant can produce up to 10 to 15 rosettes, one rosette can produce 10 to 20 seeds. So just like in that, the it could spread so fast.
Okay. And I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, see if there are any other questions. Um, I'm personally curious, could you go back to a couple of slides and just talk about the decrease that you saw from 22 to 23 again?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to share my screen and I'll go back to that. You're able to see that again?
Yeah, that looks like the one.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, we decided to count individual plants this time, and we did see an enormous reduction. Even visually being there from the first year to the second year, it was a lot less plants on the river. And with that being, these areas that were red, um, these were the most dense that we had, up to 800 plants the first year that we were on the river. And removing those earlier on in the season really helped us for the next season to have a reduction, so those plants weren't able to drop their seeds and create more for next year. We it was those were most likely the seeds that were in the seed bank that would have grown from um you know again, the seeds that were in the seed bank.
Great. Thank you. Okay. I don't see any new questions, so I think we're in good shape. If you want to do you want to put your email back up, or maybe we can put it in the chat?
Yeah, I can put my email in the chat.
Yeah, and then if anyone has questions, you can always find me at mippen.org or mippen at mortonarb.org will find me, or you can go directly to Katie for all your water chestnut questions.
In the chat.
There it is. Okay, kchurch at invasivespeciescenter.ca. Great. Okay, well, thanks again to Katie for presenting today, and thank you to the Invasive Species Center for sponsoring this webinar. Again, we'll get this up on YouTube just as soon as we can, so you can share it with others that you know that might be interested. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.